Here is the contradiction that runs under everything in this story. The confrontation in the title, Ivanka trying to lecture Michelle Obama in class, the reply that left her in tears, did not happen. Every video that claims it happened carries, in the fine print of its description, the word fictional, or the phrase entirely for entertainment, or the disclaimer that any resemblance to real events is purely coincidental. The confrontation is manufactured. The tears are AI-generated. The reply exists in a script written by a content production system optimizing for the specific, documented behavioral metric of watch time on a political drama format whose audience is real even when the drama is not. But here is what the contradiction reveals. The fictional confrontation exists because the real record produces, in the specific, documented, publicly available archive of the actual interactions between the Trump and Obama families across 20 years of American political history, a story so thoroughly documented and so completely one-directional that the fabrication channels do not need to invent a thesis. They only need to invent a scene. The thesis is already there. It is in the record. It has been in the record since October 2016. This is the story of the real record, and why the real record does not need a confrontation, does not need a lecture, does not need tears, because what it contains is more complete, more durable, and more devastating than anything a fictional dramatization could produce. In the specific, flat, unhurried, South Side of Chicago register of a woman who has spent 20 years saying the most important things she has said without saying the name of the person she was saying them about. The dual timeline starts in 2004. Track 1. Michelle LaVaughn Robinson, raised on the South Side of Chicago, daughter of Fraser Robinson III, a city water plant employee who had multiple sclerosis and who got up and went to work every day without complaint, who saved enough money to send his daughter and son to college on a city worker's salary, who gave his children the specific, documented, working-class gift of example rather than inheritance. She went to Princeton on that example. She went to Harvard Law on that example. She joined a law firm. She left the law firm for public service. She became a hospital administrator. She became First Lady. She planted a garden on the south lawn of the White House and used it to talk to children about what they put in their bodies and why it mattered, in the flat, personal, completely unperformed register of someone for whom the subject was not a policy position but a value carried from the South Side. Track 2. Ivanka Marie Trump, raised in a Fifth Avenue penthouse, daughter of Donald Trump, a real estate developer who was given a documented $1 million loan by his own father, Fred Trump, that became, in the documented finding of the New York Times investigation published in October 2018, closer to $413 million in gifts and loans across his lifetime, in the specific, institutionally detailed, tax record-sourced register of a biographical finding that places the specific documented origin of the Trump family's wealth in the precise, documented location of a father's transfers to a son who has spent 40 years describing those transfers as a small loan. Ivanka attended the Chapin School, attended Choate Rosemary Hall, attended Georgetown, transferred to Wharton. She joined her father's company. She launched a fashion brand. She became a senior White House advisor. She sat in the chair of the President of France at the G20 summit, which produced a clip that circulated with the specific, involuntary recognition frequency response of people watching a person in a room where they do not belong, and understanding from the documented footage exactly why the room is responding the way the room is responding. The parallel tracks do not require a confrontation to produce a finding. They produce a finding by existing, by being placed side by side with the timestamps attached and the documented origins annotated in the flat forensic register of a comparison that the evidence assembles without requiring a scene. October 13, 2016, New Hampshire. Michelle Obama stood at a podium. Not the White House podium, not the First Lady's formal speaking platform, but a campaign podium in the specific, urgent, 10 weeks before a general election register of a woman who had decided that week that she could not do her normal campaign speech. The Access Hollywood tape had been published 4 days earlier. The specific 2-year-old Entertainment Tonight produced hot mic recorded audio of Donald Trump describing, in the casual, unguarded register of a man who does not believe he is being recorded, the specific, documented, criminal in many jurisdictions act of grabbing women without consent, placed in the public record that week by the Washington Post, carried by every outlet, described by Trump's own team as locker room talk, in the specific damage control register of a phrase designed to make the documented audio sound like a private, informal, masculine-coded category that everyone uses and that should not be held to the standard of public accountability. Michelle Obama said, "I can't do my normal campaign speech." She said, "I have to be honest with you about how I'm feeling." She said it in the flat, personal, completely unperformed register of a woman who has been thinking about the right sentence since the tape was published, and who has found in the New Hampshire venue the moment to say it. She said, "This is not normal. This isn't politics as usual. This is disgraceful. It is intolerable." She said, "To dismiss this as locker room talk is an insult to decent men everywhere." She said it without using his name. The specific, deliberate, 20-year consistent Michelle Obama register of a woman who has been making the most important statements of her public career without naming their subject in the flat, personal, South Side voice that does not require the name because the subject is standing in the record and the audience already knows who she means. She said, "I want someone with the proven strength to persevere, someone who knows this job and takes it seriously, someone who understands that the issues a president faces are not black and white and cannot be boiled down to 140 characters." She said it without saying Hillary Clinton's name either. The specific, dual, deliberate, name-free register of a woman making the complete case for one candidate and against another without deploying either name, trusting the evidence to carry the argument to the conclusion it has always been going to reach. She said, "She shook me to my core in a way I couldn't have predicted." She said it about the tape, in the flat, genuine, personal, completely unperformed register of a woman for whom the admission of being shaken is not a performance of vulnerability, but a documentary statement. The specific, honest Southside register of someone who is reporting what has happened to her rather than managing the impression of what has happened to her. The room, the New Hampshire campaign room, the 750 people in attendance, the cameras that carried it to every outlet in the country, and then to every feed, and then to every platform, received it in the specific, sustained, room-wide, involuntary register of people who have been given the word for something they have been feeling and have not been able to name. She did not say his name. She did not say Ivanka's name. She did not say any name. She said, "This is not who we are." She said it in the flat, declarative Southside register of a woman whose documented professional life, Princeton, Harvard Law, South Lawn Garden, Children's Health Initiative, Let's Move, Reach Higher, is the complete and self-evident answer to the implicit question of who we are. Placed beside the documented record of the thing she is saying is not who we are, in the specific, name-free, evidence-based, 20 years consistent register that is her instrument. The receipt in this script is not a document pulled from a folder. It is the South Lawn Garden, the specific, physical, real, photographed, documented, school children visited, vegetable planted, First Lady maintained garden that Michelle Obama established in March 2009, that produced the first food grown at the White House since Eleanor Roosevelt's Victory Garden during World War II, that was used in the specific, flat, personal Southside register of a woman showing children what a vegetable looks like in the ground before it appears on a plate. She got on her knees in the garden. She invited school children to plant and harvest. She wrote a book about it. She made it about the children on the South Side who did not have access to fresh food, who had no frame of reference for what food looked like before it was processed and packaged and sold. And she made it about them not as a policy instrument but as a personal one, in the flat, genuine, South Side register of a woman for whom the garden was not a photo opportunity but a value made visible. The Ivanka comparison does not require a confrontation because the garden is the confrontation. The specific, documented, publicly available comparison between a First Lady who got on her knees in the South Lawn in March 2009 to plant vegetables for school children and a senior White House advisor who sat in the chair of the President of France at the G20 summit and launched a fashion brand and filed patents in China on the same day her father signed executive orders affecting trade with China is not a confrontation staged on a late-night couch or a fictional dramatization produced with a disclaimer in the description. It is the specific, documented, time-stamped, publicly available record of two women who occupied adjacent positions in the documented history of the same building and who used those positions in the specific, measurable, evidence-based what did you actually do register of a comparison that does not require a scene. The fictional confrontation videos have been watched millions of times across the documented archive of the Fabrication Channel format. The specific, AI-generated disclaimer in the description tears at the end register of content whose audience is real and whose hunger is real and whose hunger is for a specific, dramatic confrontation format rendering of something the real record contains but does not deliver in confrontation format. The audience is not wrong to want the confrontation. The confrontation is real. It exists in the record, in the garden, in the New Hampshire speech, in the 20 years of name-free, evidence-based, flat, personal, South Southside Register statements that Michelle Obama has been making about the gap between what is and what we say we are. The audience wants the confrontation rendered as a scene because a scene is more immediate than a garden and more dramatic than a speech. But the garden and the speech are more permanent than the scene. They are in the record. They have timestamps. They do not require a disclaimer. She has never said Ivanka's name in that register. She has never needed to. She has the garden. She has New Hampshire. She has the specific, flat, personal South Side. I have to be honest with you about how I'm feeling register of a woman who has been making the most important statements of her public career without naming their subjects for 20 years, and who has found, in the documented gap between the record of what she built and the documented record of what was built beside it, the complete, self-evident, name-free, evidence-based answer to every question about class that the fabrication channels have been staging as a confrontation and that the real record has been answering as a document. That is not who we are. 6 words, no name attached, no tears required, no disclaimer in the description. The garden is still there. The New Hampshire speech is still in the record. And the specific, flat, personal, South Side, dignity is not given. It is built register of a woman who got on her knees in the South Lawn in March 2009 to show school children what a vegetable looks like in the ground is still the most complete, most durable, most permanently available answer in the documented record to every question about class, dignity, and what the building at the end of Pennsylvania Avenue is supposed to be used for. Subscribe right now. Turn on every notification, because the garden is still producing. And every season, without a confrontation, without a scene, without a disclaimer, it says the same thing it has been saying since March 2009. In the flat, personal South Side, dignity is not given register of a woman who has never needed a fabrication channel to make the case that the record already makes.